I don't know what it is about giant cargo vans, but I love driving them. I especially love driving electrified cargo vans. This is a vehicle that just makes sense to be electrified. You have the big floor or chassis of the thing that can support a large or sizable battery. You have the on-demand torque needs, and you just have the utility of being able to charge this at home if you have one at home, or just at a business, or in a giant parking lot if you owned a fleet of these things. I'm a fan of the van, the EV van. This one specifically that we're taking a look at today is the latest option from Mercedes, the Sprinter, the iconic shape and face of the van life category. But is an electrified Sprinter the one to get? I don't know about that. All right, so let's talk specs first before we talk about why maybe this isn't the best one in the segment, or maybe it is. Confusing. So, this is the Mercedes-Benz eSprinter. And prior to the 2025 model year, it was just available in one body style and battery pack size, but Mercedes is adding another one into the mix. So this is the 113 kilowatt hour battery pack having long wheelbase, high output version of the eSprinter. So what does high output mean? Well, it means we have a 201 horsepower motor that makes 295 pound-feet of torque. And like I said, long wheelbase version. This is already partitioned off for cargo purposes. And I'm actually comfortable. The steering wheel has a lot of adjustability, which is good to make sure the steering wheel comes to you if you need it to do so. They added, I said, another model into the mix. There's a smaller battery, 81 kilowatt hour version of this. You can also get it in a smaller wheelbase version of this, or you can do the smaller battery on the bigger size vehicle. I think smaller wheelbase, smaller battery is nice. The standard output version, which is available on both as well, makes 134 horsepower, I believe, which isn't that exciting, but it makes the same 295 pound-feet of torque. These things are top speed limited to 75 miles per hour, which is fine. You don't need to be hauling ass in one of these, though, you know, it is fun to just whip one of these because they do drive surprisingly well. And that goes for every cargo van I've driven. I love hauling ass in transits. And then because this is a Mercedes, you have, you know, a nice display screen here with wireless Apple CarPlay. The seat is comfortable. The Mercedes-ness of it is inherent. Yeah, wait a fucking second. Thank you. Cargo van coming through. You know, everything works nicely. The gauges are easy to read. There's, you know, it's not an E-Class or an S-Class in here, but you can get some nice options. This has a heated windshield. This has the MBUX system. If you say that phrase, I'm not going to say, hey, you know, the name of the vehicle, and it's like a Siri for the vehicle, but I don't want to do that. The sound system is fine. I think there's only 4 speakers, but again, they're not bumping the tunes in this thing. So, driving-wise, all that stuff is good. Now, range-wise, on the European test, which is what the published numbers are, it says it gets like 295 miles. I don't know what the Europeans are doing to test their vehicles. If they're testing them in outer space, if they're testing them in a vacuum. I don't understand the WLTP test. It doesn't make sense in the real world. Real world, in the best range version of this, you could probably do 230 miles, you know, which is plenty for an around town commercial van. If this is just, you know, obviously you're not, say you're a plumber and you have one of these, you're not going to be like, oh, I got a job in Bakersfield I got to get to. That's not how this works. So 200, just call it 200 miles. That's great. I think on the low end, you know, 170. When I fully charge this, I'm seeing about 180 on the indicated range, which isn't always the best way to do this. And I am driving everywhere flat-footed because it's fun. And then just to make sure there's a little bit of payload, Mercedes just put a box in the back of this thing that I think weighs 400 pounds. Payload is about 2,600 pounds in this spec. The smaller battery pack can actually do 3,500 pounds, which you're like, well, why is that? Because of gross vehicle weight ratings, they're both rated around 9,300 pounds. So if you reduce the weight of the vehicle, you can put more crap in it. Starting price of these is $63 for the standard output, small wheelbase or shorter wheelbase, smaller battery version. This one starts at $80, and then being a Mercedes, you can add options. But it's competitive in the EV van space because there's the ProMaster EV, which is priced pretty expensively, but has a really nice powertrain on it. And then you have the Transit, which starts lower, and I think can climb this high with options. And then you also have, if you're a fleet buyer, you can buy the Rivian RCV, I believe now, the 500 or the 700, which they haven't released power specs, but in terms of cargo volume, the Rivians are pretty awesome. The small one matches what these bigger vans can do, and then the RCV 700 has like a shit ton of space on the inside. I'm asking Rivian if I could borrow one. Okay, so why is this maybe not the best option? Well, it was until Ford updated the Transit. I'm a Ford fan. The Transit makes 268 horsepower and 312 pound-feet of torque. It hauls ass. I believe it charges faster too. This, you have to option up to 115 kilowatt DC fast charger, which is not great, especially for a 113 kilowatt hour battery pack. But I do like that the charging port is in the nose of this, so you can just pull in. That makes it easy. But the Transit upgraded the battery size. It's in the 80s now, which sounds obviously smaller than this, and it moved the range from it only had 100 miles of range when it first came out, the E-Transit, to about 150, which is much more usable, close, and hopefully that's like real world achievable. So I haven't tested it yet. So the Mercedes costs a little bit more, and you definitely get more range, but the Transit has more power, has a higher payload, and starts less, and probably as equipped is less as well. So all that adds up to me that if you're buying in this space, and I haven't driven the Ram yet, I gotta get my hands on that ProMaster EV. The Transit seems like the best option. This Mercedes is really nice though. I mean, if you need more range, you gotta get this Sprinter though, but you're paying for it, so there is that. So just balance the needs of what you're doing. But the reason why I would say the Transit is because in this space, 140, 150 miles of range is probably pretty good for your day of work if you're using this as the commercial vehicle in which it is intended to be used. These aren't ready for van life type shit yet, I don't think, because if you're going to get away from it all for the weekend, 150 to 200 miles of range might not cut it for a lot of people. As say you were a surf hustler, not hustler, but say you were hustling to the beach on the weekends to go surfing.
They call him the Bodhisattva.
And maybe camping at the beach, awesome, super awesome choice for that. Throw the boards in the back, have a nice place to sleep, have a little kitchen running off of it. I think it'd be awesome for that. But if you're like heading out to Joshua Tree or somewhere far away or whatever, that's when it gets a little tougher. Unless it could charge like 200 plus kilowatts. So like I said, I love driving these. It's just the torque and the silence. It's just a wonderful package for a vehicle. Ooh, Pagoda bands. Hold on, I gotta get a picture of that shit in an amazing green color. Oh my, yes. I'll put this in the video so you can see what I'm talking about, but oh my goodness. That is a stunner. That's the color I want to paint my Mercedes wagon, and yes, I still have my Mercedes wagon. Ha ha ha, jokes. The jokes are warranted though. I'm gonna get another picture as it goes by. So, to sum up, because I'm babbling at this point because it's 8 in the morning and I need more coffee. This eSprinter is pretty great, and as battery tech improves and charging speeds improve, these things are only going to get better, and then maybe it'll be van life ready. But as it is now, I got my Apple CarPlay, my wireless Apple CarPlay. I got good visibility, though to the side here. Oh, hold on, I gotta get a picture of this thing. Oh, stunner, absolute stunner, gorgeous. There's like a window pane here, which is almost like a vestigial quarter window, and I wish it was because I love those. But you get used to it. The harder part is the rear view. Thankfully, there's a camera. The camera's optional, which is kind of lame, but I think you can get it without the partition, which would make sense. But the angle on it is a bit weird. It's very high. You can adjust the angle with the button, which is nice, but you do have to get used to the fact that it looks like cars are smashing into the back of you, but they're not. There's plenty of room. And then because it has the regular tall mirror and then the smaller wide mirror at the bottom, you get used to driving this pretty quickly. And it's easy to maneuver. The cameras work well when you're parking it. It is big, but you get used to it. So I cannot explain why I love driving these, obviously, because I'm babbling. I love electric commercial vans. I don't need one, but do I want one? Yeah. I don't know what I'd do with it. I just would drive mountain bikes to the bike park, go beach camping, and just silently drive this hulking studio apartment around town. I love it, but I'd get the Ford. Backing up. So big a vehicle. It's not smashing into the Montero. A lot of mirror work. And we're away.